Alexa, set a timer for 30 minutes.
30 minutes.
Hey, you guys, welcome, welcome. This is Brian at 30 Minute BS. And just trying to figure stuff out. I haven't done this in a long time. So, checking things out here. I'm getting ready for my game tonight with Fantasy Grounds. And let's see, is this going live? 30 Minute BS? Let's see. We're on the channel. Yeah. We're live. So I'm going to mute that for echo. And here we go. So we've got a little Discord channel for our team. I've just grabbed. How do I know if somebody's chatting with me? Oh yeah, I was looking at Scarlet Watch. I wonder if he's around today. So Scarlet Watch. Let's see. At Scarlet Watch. Come and see. So trying to be cool like Scarlet Watch and just share. So grabbing a backstory for my party. We're in Pathfinder. They're actually hanging out here in Wati. We're going through the Mummy's Mask campaign, and I'm not ready. I also decided I should probably do my 30-minute BS and get things going there. So I was trying to get things hooked up, and I just kind of ran out of time. I was going to stream from this other computer over here, and then do stuff here, and then this screen's only like, it's like mashed. So you're actually only looking at half of my monitor, which actually, in hindsight, is kind of helpful. It gets... Yeah, I was looking at this. I'm going to save this video for later because I was on the right track with that. So I'll get there. Control Shift B, get rid of that. Stream, we're already streaming, so that's good. Get rid of that. We just made a new channel, so I'm not streaming on YouTube yet because I didn't want to take the time. Oh, cancel, save. I didn't want to take the time to set up my OBS for that. Scarlet Watch told me the other day to check out this xsplit.com, and at first I kind of liked it, but then I was like, I don't know, it's cool, but I got OBS all set up, and I've tried to use OBS when I'm on my Zoom calls. I'm moving around a lot so I could see, is it capturing everything? But on my Zoom calls, it like, I get stuck, and I just sit there all stuck for, it's only a second or two, but it's disruptive enough I can't use it on there. XSplit, the free product, they've got a great deal right now. I'm so off task. I'm so distracted. I guess that's why it's 30-minute BS. But they've got this Black Friday offer of $120 in the US for lifetime on it. So I'm tempted to get that. And the VCam, I couldn't get it to work. They've got a product to do my webcam with my phone. So as I get going, I couldn't get that to work. So I don't see a lot of value in switching to XSplit right off the bat here. So all that for what it's worth. Let's look at where we are in the story. So if I close this, I don't need that right now. And let's get Fantasy Grounds booted up. I also loved Fantasy Ground Friday last week because they brought on the developers and they were checking stuff out there. So Fantasy Grounds here. Let's see what happens if I do it. Snap. There. Looks pretty good. Huh. That fills your whole screen. That's going to jack up everything in my campaign. So if I load my campaign and start, we're in Pathfinder 1. We're going through the Mummy's Mask. I think I said that before. And kind of winging it a little bit like I always do because I barely have 30 minutes to get set up and prepare, but that's what we're doing. Oh, my stream didn't update correctly. Will this update if I just click done there? Stream updated. Oh, there. I had the wrong name. Fantasy Grounds Game Prep. There we go. And I've got one watcher. Guess who? Me. Self-watching. All right. Fantasy Grounds is just a lagger. That's why I was going to try to get everything to run on that computer over there. Because over there, if I can get that computer to host the video and streaming, I can see everything better and not lag things out and not mess up my layout. This is going to mess up my whole layout. I think I'm going to go, can I maximize this right now? Oh, I did it. But now you can only see half the screen, but I'm okay with that. Let's see if it ever loads in, gets on my screen. 30-minute BS and time's up. We had to wait for Fantasy Grounds to load. So 30-minute BS is me as a Christian father with a whole bunch of kids. I get to play a little bit in little chunks, like 30 minutes of BS. Those are my initials, BS. So I thought, well, what's an easy, quick, easy, dirty way to get this set up and get going? And that's the route I chose. So there we have it. Whoa, Fantasy Grounds, come on. This computer is so gangbuster. Computer management. Is that what I want? No. Oh, there we go. The screen has loaded. All right. I just love my whole screen. I wonder if I can put it on here. Well, I think I can. If I go smaller. So if I go to there and I make this smaller, then you could, yeah. Then you might be able to see my entire screen. If you're gonna do this, I would do it, man, all the way. Let's see what we got. I think I have it so you can see the entire screen, Daddy. Let's get this a little bit wider. I just can't see it, it's so small. Ah, that looks pretty good. I think I did it. All right, here we go. So you may be able to see it, but you may not be able to see it if you get what I'm hinting at. So we'll just transition over there. Boom, there you have it. So now you can see my whole screen. And isn't it awesome? So it did move my combat tracker and stuff. Oh my gosh, I hate this. I don't know if I want to leave and come back in or not. But here we are. Campaign setup. Yeah, it crushed everything to the left here. Crushed it. So disappointing. They've got Fantasy Grounds improved so that it saves your position of your windows, unless you happen to open the application window size at a different resolution or different size than before. Like I had it full screen, and then today I opened it like half screen, so it didn't stick. So I have to reposition all these windows again. Spells, images, Whispering Stone, Pharasma's Needle. That was cool. I like that. And the story. Alright, so this goes over here. Oh, that wasn't hard to move. That's not too bad. So they're about to meet Sebti the crocodile. She's going to perform the drawing to see which area of the city they get to explore. So they're excited about that. One of the party, let's see who that would be. Xandar tried to con one of the acolytes into giving them favoritism, so that's part of their story. I'm trying to do that. I'll bring this over here a little bit. And the hookah stuff, we'll go there. And this stuff here, tooth in the hookah. Oh, I should read that. So I'll read that when I'm not with you guys. Ultimate equipment, core rules. Subt's coming up soon. They're meeting right here in front of this mausoleum, the Grand Mausoleum, and performing the drawing. And then they're going to hike into here and head over to this tomb site right over here. And that's where the adventure action begins. So mostly it's just reading today because this is my first time playing with this. How long have we been streaming for? Oh my gosh, I can't believe how late it is already. Is there a timer on here? No? There it is, 11 minutes. So let's see, a hot night at the Tooth and Hookah. In Varizia, lush fields ripple in the wind like waves of an emerald sea, but here the grass is as sere as grandfather's glares. The change in the climate and geography took some getting used to. I don't know how to find water or predict storms the way I could back home. I can still follow tracks, but the wind in Osiren can scour the deserts flat in minutes. The dry air irritates my nostrils and chaps my lips, but I rather like the heat, or at least I did until this last week. I originally headed for Wati in search of supplies, healing, and gossip, the currencies of a pathfinder. After a few days under the blazing sun, however, I approached with new sense of urgency. My first view of the city from a rise to the north was spectacular. I'd have appreciated it more if I hadn't been drenched in stinky sweat, with strips of skin peeling off my face. The walls wound like stone rivers separating the old city from the new. Low buildings painted white to reflect the heat clustered along wide avenues. Across their roofs I saw the Grand Mausoleum, the city's temple to the death goddess, a ruined statue of a sphinx out in the river. From the eastern side of the city rose a hill upon which noble estates sprawled. Looking down to the bustling populace, it was eerie as I descended to see throngs moving through the Wati's streets, arrayed in colorful caftans and buzzing with sound and life, while the old Wati remained still and silent as the graveyard it was. I made straight for the nearest gate and asked a guard where a foreigner might get a cold drink. "You don't look foreign," he said, studying my dark skin. "Looks can be deceiving," I said in my broadest Parisian accent. He shrugged and pointed down a sandy avenue. "Try the Tooth and Hookah." I joined the crowds and moved past inns, houses, markets filled with brass lamps and striped rugs until I reached a quiet section near the old city wall. Caravans' awnings stretched over the doorways and casting pools. I saw something move over on my chat box there. That was weird. Casting pools of shade on the avenue. A flag hung from one awning, painted with grinning green crocodile, sinking its teeth into a golden hookah. I pushed through the curtained doorway. Blessed shade and darkness, I sighed with relief as the mud brick walls did their job, the warding off the sun. The floorboards rasped under my boots, and a fine layer of sand covering the floor. I took a moment to scan the room. I'd arrived in Osirian via the city of Sothis, and there I'd stayed in an inn catering to foreigners before commissioning river travel to the south. That had been what I was used to when I thought of inns. This place certainly was not. Pillows shaped like the crescent moon surrounded low round tables. Water pipes of dinged and dented brass with painted enamel bases sat in the center of each table. Clay bowls filled with the stubs of unlit candles hung from the ceiling. Filtered light from the curtained doorway left the room dim. It took me a moment to locate the bar among the many counters and crowded against the walls. This inn seemed more like a miniature market than a tavern. Old books overflowed on a table next to the counter, covered with cheap-looking necklaces, bracelets, and earrings. Wispy scarves and embellishments with tiny, shining coins hung back on a rack in the corner. The sight of the scarves, so like the ones worn by the ethnic Parisian women, gave me a pang of homesickness. I finally located the bar in the opposite corner. A tall, narrow table, its legs hidden by a cotton skirt patterned with faded yellow palm fronds. Its surface covered with colored glass cups, bronze decanters, and an assortment of liquor bottles. A low stone ring at the end of the bar marked an indoor well. The Tooth and Hookah seemed a popular place. Almost all the tables were occupied, mostly by Gurundi I pegged as locals, but a few by foreigners. Not one took much notice of me. A haze of smoke hung in the air, and I recognized the spicy scent of shisha tobacco. I made my way through the cloud and leaned against the open spot on the bar. The fresh mineral smell of a deep well wafted from the corner. "I've got a powerful thirst and a horrible sunburn," I told the man behind the counter. He gave me a deep chuckle. His strong features were more intimidating than handsome, but I liked the way his close-trimmed hair curled over his brow. "I can help with the first part. For the second, I recommend staying out of the sun and drinking plenty of liquids. Guess I can help there too." I grinned, and he poured me something out of a ceramic carafe. "Thanks. You got rooms here?" He gestured to a set of stairs half hidden behind a screen painted with a camel. The artist's haphazard brushstrokes gave the poor beast the look of permanent indigestion. "Regular rooms cheap, or a suite for more, but that's for groups of travelers, unless you've got friends on the way. For tonight a single room will—" I broke off in mid-sentence. I noticed what occupied the well. "Is that a crocodile?" The man's dark eyes twinkled. "It's something, anyway. He surfaced one day, and it seemed he liked it here. We feed him scraps, but he never seems to get any longer than 6 inches. Call him Toothy." "Well, that's a first for me, and I've seen a lot." "Seems you have." The man glanced down at my bare forearms. The fresh scars looked raw. "Had some adventure in the desert?" "You could say that. Ran into some previously deceased individuals out in the sands. They didn't take too kindly to my presence. I'm Nenet, by the way." One eyebrow shot up. "Farhan. Undead?" I noticed as I sipped the sharp, clear liquid in my cup. It smelled a bit like roses and a bit like licorice. My sunburn still hurt like hell, but I was starting to care less. "I thought they might be mummies at first. The books I've read made it sound like mummies pop up around every corner here, but they weren't nearly powerful enough. Gave me a few good scratches, though." "I wonder why," a soft voice said at my shoulder. I turned my head and saw a Gurundi woman watching me with narrowed eyes. She wore loose linen trousers and a sleeveless tunic with a colorful sash. I picked out the table she belonged to right away. The two men that sat at it watched our every move, and seemed about as friendly as the zombies in the desert had been. I also picked out the knife hilt jutting from her sash. "So many possibilities," I answered. My looks, my personality, perhaps my manner of dress offended them. And perhaps you were disturbing to their place of rest. Many have fallen for the lure of hidden wealth, only to find that the dead protect their own. I put all of the irritation in my voice. "Are you calling me a tomb robber?" "I'm saying that, despite all appearances, you don't seem to be from around here. Perhaps you're not familiar with our customs." She moved a half-inch closer, a cobra in motion. "Stealing from the dead is a serious crime in Wati." "I haven't stolen anything from anyone, living or dead. But if you don't back off, I might just disturb the peace." She let silence stretch to a point where my hand started creeping toward my sword. I didn't relish the idea of drawing a weapon in a crowded inn, but I wanted the blade in reach in case things took a nasty turn. Then she drew back. "Simply informing you of some dangers not listed in your books." "Thanks for the warning." I held her gaze until she broke away and moved back to her table. "Who's she?" I asked, turning back to Farhan. He shrugged. "Name's Kima. Comes in from time to time. There's a lot of people in Wati sensitive about tomb robbing." "Because of the old city?" "I read about it. No one can go in without permission, right?" Farhan glanced at my empty cup and refilled it. I snuck a look at Kima out of the corner of my eye. She was ignoring me, talking with her companions in a low voice. My Osirian is terrible, but even if I'd been as fluent as grandfather, I wouldn't have made out the words. Her voice vanished amid the conversations in the bar. The jingle of coins on the serving women's skirts, and the thrumming of a Garundi harp one man had started plucking. I glanced back at Farhan as he said, "It's discouraged. People sometimes ask the priests to enter the ruins for a specific purpose, and visitors sometimes request permission to leave offerings and pray for their ancestors. Otherwise, it remains empty." "Well, Keeman doesn't need to worry about me. I was out in the desert until I arrived in Wati an hour ago." "It's not only Wati people care about. Tombs are seen as sacred places, under the protection of the Lady of Graves." He nodded in the direction of the great temple, as if we could see its looming presence through the walls. "Many in Wati pay homage to Pharasma. I'm going to say it Pharasma. I keep saying it wrong last time. Pharasma, though just as many follow different gods. Like him?" I nodded, slightly in the direction of a figure, a man, I guessed, judging by its build, seated at the table alone. He was dressed in dirty white traveling robes and stared silently at the water pipe in the center of his table. A golden mask covered his face, something like a funerary mask I'd seen in illustrations. The flanking around the edge of the mask revealed it to be gold-painted wood. The man slipped the mouthpiece of the water pipe under the edge of his mask, sending clouds of scented smoke billowing out from around the mask's edges. "Your guess is as good as mine on that one," Farhan chuckled. "More face than even I can keep track of in this city." We chatted for a time about the variety of people Farhan had seen as innkeeper. I had seen a traveler, I told him. I had come to Osirian to learn about the history of the country. A story close enough to the truth, and one that didn't mention the Pathfinder Society. Farhan kept the drinks coming, and I offered me complimentary plates of olives, cured meat, spongy bread drizzled with oil. I grew much bolder each time my cup was refilled, even feeding Toothy bits of meat with my fingers. The bard stopped playing to enjoy drinks bought by the inn's patrons, then resumed his strumming. While Farhan served others, I wandered to the edges of the room, looking over the variety of wares and discreetly studying the patrons. The sun began its descent, and the light from the doorway faded. The serving woman stood on tiptoe to light the hanging lamps with long tapers. Back at the bar, I said, "Life seems pretty good here in the, what do you call it, the broken city?" "The half city," Farhan corrected me. "Right. Well, between the olives and the pet crocodiles and the abandoned necropolis, no one could ever be bored here." I lowered my voice, especially if someone had an interesting piece of ancient history to research, one that could unlock secrets and perhaps even earn a bit of extra coin. That would add spice to daily life, don't you think? Farhan narrowed his eyes. "Perhaps." I glanced covertly around the room. No one paid me any attention. Even Kima was watching the bard in the corner. I dipped my hand into the hidden pocket in my tunic and withdrew a battered oval amulet on a thin copper chain. I leaned on the bar and smiled, using my body language to give the impression that we were still engaged in light-hearted chatter, while shading the amulet from view. What I said before about the desert zombies wasn't exactly true. The smile dropped away entirely from Farhan's face. "What part exactly?" "I'm not a tomb raider. I wasn't there to disturb the dead or to make my fortune. The amulet says otherwise. Come on, Farhan." I turned the amulet over in my hand. "Does this look like it's worth more than a few coppers?" When Farhan didn't respond, I closed my fingers over the amulet. "I think it belongs to me." "Obviously." "No, I mean, I think it legitimately belongs to me, to my family. I'm not here only to research Osirian history. I'm here searching for my ancestors." Farhan still looked doubtful. I laid the amulet on the bar, leaning on the elbow while I stirred the long chain with my other hand. Family records led me to the location of the tomb, and it took me a while to find it and longer to dig out the entrance. Hence the sunburn. But I finally gained access. The zombies appeared just like I told you, but I swear by the spiral. They left the bodies and their possessions undisturbed. I left the bodies and their possessions undisturbed, except for this. I threaded my fingers through the chain and lifted the amulet up again, letting the chain slip over my wrist. I did take this. Grudgingly, Farhan asked, "Why did you take it?" "Because I think it can lead me to another tomb, a larger one that might contain preserved records about my family's history. I'm looking for someone to translate these markings, and where I come from, bartenders are the best sources of info." "I knew it!" The voice at the elbow made me jump. I cursed silently. Either the alcohol or my own excitement over my discovery had dulled my alertness. That blasted woman. "This is a private conversation," I said, trying to slide the amulet down my sleeve. Kima wasn't fooled. Her eyes, an unusual light green for a Gurundi, flashed in the lamplight. "You're a tomb robber. You're imagining crimes where they don't exist. You walk in here sunburned and scarred from battle, with an ancient necklace in your pocket, and expect us to believe you didn't unearth that which sleeps beneath the sand." She had moved up mere inches from me, her wine breath warm on my face. My muscles tensed. "Something tells me nothing I say will convince you otherwise. So why don't we take this outside?" "Huh?" She shook her head. "You must think this is my first time retrieving stolen property. Go outside and give you a chance to run away? Hand it over right now." "Stealing stolen property doesn't seem particularly righteous." By now, the nearest patrons had realized something was up. Most stared, putting tables between them and me, or started putting tables between them and me, but a few leaned in closer, eager for a fight. Well, that's 30 minutes. Alexa, stop. I'm going to keep this going and just finish this reading, and that's where we'll call it quits for today. 30-minute BS. Woo! I lost my place. Most started putting tables between them and me, and a few leaned in closer, eager for a fight. Kima sneered at me. I'll take it to the Grand Mausoleum. The priest there will consecrate the item and return it to the ground. Behind her, the two men she'd been drinking with moved to either side, forming a looming triangle. I eyed their muscled forms with dismay. When I didn't answer right away, Kima made to say something else, probably a warning about Pharasma would make of my soul. But before she could get in more than a word out, I kneed her hard in the stomach. She bent over with a whoosh, and I sidestepped her and bolted. Noise erupted in the room, and people shouted and pointed. Those who hadn't noticed the trouble brewing certainly realized it now, as I made a dash for the door. One of the muscled men threw an arm into my chest, and I bounced back, losing my balance and toppling over. I half turned as I fell, which is all that saved me from breaking my neck on the edge of the well. I bruised my ribs on the stones, and my face went under the water. My fingers clutched at the pit's slippery edge as I tried to haul myself up, but my hair caught on Toothy's rough hide. I managed a half-muttered thanks to the gods that Toothy wasn't aggressive as I unsnagged my locks and staggered to my feet. In half a minute I'd be down on the ground. Farhan had leaped across the bar and blocked my attacker's progress. Kima shouted and one of her drinking companions strode past her. Farhan swung at him. I took a step to the side and tried once again for the door. This time I dodged Kima's lunge, kicked her hard in the knee so her leg buckled, and then ducked under the other man's outstretched arms. I was already a couple of steps away when the man caught the back of my collar and threw me to one side. I sprawled atop one of the tables, gasping in pain as my already bruised ribs took another hit. A hand fastened around my ankle and I pulled. I scrabbled my nails on the wooden surface, but lacked the leverage to fight against my attacker. I grabbed the table's water pipe and twisted around as the man dragged me off the table, with precision born of many years of practice, albeit with knives, not hookahs. I flung the water pipe at his face. It shattered on his brow, with a smash that seemed to echo even in the din. He stumbled back with a shriek, and I sprang to my feet. My breath had returned. I glanced to the bar where the two men still fought. Farhan caught my eye and gave a nod. Trusting him to deal with his opponent, I tried once more for the door. Kima had recovered by now, and she threw herself into my path, a long curved knife in her hand. Apparently she had lacked the reservations I had about drawing a weapon in a crowded room. Nearby patrons scattered, shouting warnings that were lost in bedlam. People were all over up the room, either heading for the door or jockeying for better view of my tussle with Kima. She slashed at my face, and I hopped back, the blade missing me by an inch. I tried to leap laterally, moving around the edge of the room, but the confounded pillows seemed to be everywhere now, and I had to focus on my footing. A server slammed into me as she hastened for the kitchen, and I lost precious seconds trying to fumble my way free. I inadvertently grabbed her scarf as I tried to extricate myself, pulling the winding gauze off her head. She gave an indignant cry before vanishing into the kitchen. I barked my shin against a table and almost went down again as Kima slammed into me from behind. At least she hadn't stabbed me in the back. Instead, her arm wound around me and pressed the other edge of her knife against my throat. I stumbled to an awkward halt, her eight dragging on my back while the knife ate, dragging on my back while the knife made a hard line against my windpipe. "Give me the amulet," she ordered. I balled up the serving girl's scarf in my hand, and with a quick move I slammed my head back into Kima's face while grabbing the knife blade with the wadded scarf. The blade still cut my fingers, but not deeply, and I heard the satisfying crunch of my opponent's nose. She screamed and stepped back, and I spun out to the side away from her and crashed into one of the merchant's tables along a wall. My impact with the table was combined with the bow that somehow wedged itself under my right foot was enough to send me tumbling to the ground once more. I hit the floor in a crash of splintering wood and shattered glass and jingling trinkets. Groaning, I tried to sit up, but a foot on my shoulder pushed me firmly onto my back before I could rise. The foot settled on my chest and leaned into me with considerable strength. I blinked as the figure of Kima's muscular friend swam into view. I lifted my hands to show surrender, the amulet dangling from my right hand. All right, you can have it. Just don't hurt me." The man wrenched the necklace from my grasp with more force than was necessary. I winced and tried to sit up as his foot eased off my chest. "Stop!" Kima stood next to her ally. Blood streaked her face and sleeve, and she glowered at me. I'm down on the ground, with all the fury of a crusader. "That's twice now you've taken me for a fool." I doubted anything I could say would make the situation better, so I took grandfather's advice for once and kept my mouth shut. Kima turned to her ally. "Search her. She must have grabbed a cheap necklace from the stand and kept the real one hidden." Obediently, the muscled man examined my clothes and emptied out my boots. He found the empty hidden pocket in my tunic and showed it to Kima. I made some cursory protests, but knew there was little I could do against their combined strength. The second man had vanished, at least. I couldn't see him anywhere, and I noticed Farhan had a deep cut and a blackened eye. Farhan made a move toward me, but I warned him off with my eyes. Kima stared at my empty pocket, brow furrowed. She gestured to the spilled rack of cheap jewelry on the ground. "Take it all. Just scoop the whole thing up." A nearby patron gave a cry of protest. My limited Syrian led me to understand that he was the proprietor of the counter I just knocked over. Kima dropped a handful of gold onto his palm, and that seemed to settle the matter. With a final disdainful look at me, she stalked out with her ally in tow. Groaning, I climbed to my feet. The inn had mostly emptied out by this time. The bar remained, already composing a rhyme about the brief but thrilling battle in the Tooth and Hookah. A few patrons sat on the opposite of the room, smoking and talking and studying, studiously ignoring us. I pulled on my boots as Farhan hurried up and put a hand on my shoulder. "So, which was worse?" he asked. "The zombies or Kima?" I grimaced. At the least, the zombies were quiet. I hobbled over to the bar. Farhan went to pour me another drink, but I waved it away. "I've had quite enough tonight, thanks." "Do you remember any of the markings?" Farhan asked. I gave him a blank look. "On the amulet, if you remember them. I know someone who might be able to help identify them. Even without the amulet, you could still find your family's tomb." I made a show of looking around the room before I smiled at Farhan. "About the amulet, the one I showed you wasn't exactly genuine." He blinked in surprise. "You mean you did give her a fake one?" I nodded. "And the ones she bought? Lovely, I'm sure, but none were the one I found in the desert." "You don't think I'd give up my prize so easily, do you?" "You call this easy?" Farhan's gesture took in our battered appearances. "So where's the real one?" I leaned down to the well again and gently unhooked the chain from around Toothy's neck. He's really good-natured. Didn't even blink when I put it on him. Then again, crocodiles don't blink, do they? At least, that's what I've read. Farhan laughed softly. "You may not be from around here, but I think you're going to fit in just fine. You flatter me." I gave him a mock bow. "Now what's this friend of yours? I need a little more information before I go stirring up the restless dead once more." So that's an interesting story to, I gave that to the party and maybe shouldn't have, but I don't think it revealed anything. But it gave me some pictures into how to describe the tooth and the hookah. Kind of pillows everywhere and some of the foods. I wish there was like highlighting in here, but maybe it's in the description. Let's see, where's the tooth and the hookah? Let's get rid of that. I think it's over here somewhere. Whispering Stone, Mender's Row. Oh, there it is. The tooth and the hookah. Modest Inn, a hookah bar is known for its mascot, Toothy, a tiny crocodile that lives in inns. Well, for more information on this attraction, see the Pathfinder's Journal. So if we head over here, we go to the adventure outline. Okay, so that's the first adventure, or the first part. There's 3 parts in this first part of the adventure path. Here we go, it's got to be in here. Tooth and the hookah. I hate that the map's in the diagram and the map here, this one's turned north, kind of like should be, but these are turned sideways to fit the long way, I guess. Tooth and the hookah. Sidebar, stats, history, districts, notable locations. I'm like chopped off the screen, sorry about that. Alright, House of Pharaoh, Ender's Way, Precincts, Market, Tooth and the Hookah. This modest, oh, it's the same description that I put over there. So, looking back at that story, it's Farhan. Farhan seems to have a propensity against the Pharasma ban on robbing the dead. So what's next in the adventure outline? Oh, we're out of time. So 30-minute BS, we're going to call it quits. So I want to thank you for stopping by. If anybody stopped by, that's kind of cool. And we'll see you again sometime.